I'm Haley from Gallifrey Public Radio, a Doctor Who fandom podcast and part of the Gonna Geek Network, just like the show you're checking out now. Shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other interesting geeky shows at GonnaGeekNetwork.com.
But what about my $5 for my recording fee?
Are you recording, Espy? Chris, are you recording?
As long as
Only
you
if
give
you
me
give me
$5, because I'm not taking less than Chris.
You
I want
$5?
$5.01. I want 1 cent more than SP. I want that in my contract.
I want a Superman 3 it. I'll take 1 cent in whatever's left over.
It's fine. It's fine. I can do this show without you guys.
Oh,
Go ahead.
Okay,
I'm going to sit back and watch.
This is the official GonnaGeek.com show. Each week, we run down the latest news and happenings in the world of geek. These are your hosts for the show, Steven, Chris, and SP.
Welcome to the best episode of the official GonnaGeek.com show. I am your solo host, Steven Jondra, and I am pleased to say that no one else is here. No, that's a lie. Chris is here.
I'm here under protest.
Also, SP may or may not be here.
I might be itching, so we'll see.
Oh, it is definitely that time of year. By the way, I think of you regularly, SP. Speaking of itching, I want to make sure that you know that I think of you when I itch myself. And the reason why is because of the fact that I have been trying to do the quarantine beard. I have been encouraged by a couple of good friends of mine. I've been encouraged by Chris Farrell to let it grow out. Let it grow and just let it keep on going. And every time it gets to just a certain level, the allergies get me. I can't keep going, and I start sneezing, and it's just like, oh, this is what SP has been complaining about for years. And then I trim it down, and I bring it down to stubble, pretty much, and then let the cycle continue. So SP, I think of you regularly while I itch myself and trim myself.
So once again, you followed my lead. I am not a big fan of The Empire Strikes Back, which everybody else loved. And then all of a sudden, after a couple of years of listening to me, you're like, you know what? The Empire Strikes Back isn't all that great.
It's true.
So, and now it's the beard. You're falling into line with the beard. It's just one thing after another. It's just, you're just going to be SP eventually.
Chris Farrell, as the resident person that loves The Empire Strikes Back, would you like to counter?
You don't need me to counter. You've got thousands of voices out there that have expressed it far better than I. Why Empire is one of the best.
To you, I mean, to me, it's not, but it's all personal preference.
But maybe we can all agree that Rise of Skywalker is poop.
Except for Daisy Ridley.
Well, and Adam Driver's really good in it, but their characters are the story.
No, I mean,
never mind.
I mean, there was a story out there that she said that she doesn't understand why it wasn't rated that good, that they put their heart of the soul into it, and it really should have been rated higher. No, Daisy. No, it shouldn't have. I mean,
doesn't make it good.
It was a decent movie. It was a terrible episode 9.
Okay, and that's the problem right there, is because of the fact that they decided to wrap up the saga. They never should have done that. They should have just left it in limbo and moved on to other areas of the universe.
They tried to wrap up the saga by ignoring the middle piece of the new saga.
Yeah.
It's true.
Well, it's Rotten Tomatoes. It's actually the highest rated one of the last 3 movies. And I don't think you can... You can't always leave something open. I mean, take a look at Harry Potter. Yes, they came back later, but the Harry Potter story of the first movies was over. Lord of the Rings, that is over. I mean, they're not just continuing it.
They're just continuing stories in those universes, though.
The Hobbit takes place before Lord of the Rings.
I said in the universe, did I not?
Yeah.
They are the same universe.
That's fine. So yes, you need to quit the Skywalker saga at some point.
I disagree. I don't think everything needs to be wrapped up perfectly. I think it's okay to leave things out there and let our imaginations solve where things went. I don't know why there's this inherent need for Hollywood to always spoon feed us what happens after the saga. Like, come back.
What have they done that in lately?
They did that obviously in Star Wars.
So what did they give us that tells us what happens after the saga? It ended on the note that I'm not going to spoil, but they didn't sit there and be like, here's how everything ends. They wrapped up the story, but
we could have come back and we could have touched on, we could have done things without the original cast and maybe had a couple cameos and not continued their storyline. I think we could have gone and still touched on how they influence the current characters, but we didn't have to go and wrap up all of their individual storylines. It was unnecessary.
I think you just have to wait a couple of years and then you'll come around to my line of thinking.
That Empire's not as good as Jedi, that line
I'm
of thinking?
confused. I thought I was agreeing with SP. Let's just go ahead and move on to the news. I am so looking forward to finding out what Chris's opinion is on this one here. It's all about Facebook gaming. If you didn't know this, Facebook has been trying to slowly get into the gaming market. They have been obviously scaling up their live stream ability over the last little while. We've seen a lot of evolution even since we've been doing this show with video. And gaming was an element that they kind of started to get into. Well, they officially, as of today, Monday, April 30th, did worldwide launch a dedicated gaming app. This is about Facebook live streaming gaming. So if you look up Facebook gaming within the Android store, you will find it because there is a dedicated app for Facebook gaming. This was previously available for testing in Southeast Asia and Latin America. At this time, there isn't ads included in the app, so monetization is a little bit limited for the gamers, but it does include, quote, stars, end quote, which is apparently a way that people can make one-time Facebook payments to the person that's streaming. So this is a way that people can still monetize their streams, but they're coming after that Twitch market. They're coming after that Mixer market. They're trying to get in. And if you go to facebook.com/gaming, you will see a very familiar homepage. I went there today and it looks very, very similar to many other elements that I have seen within Twitch and Mixer. It's definitely them trying to get in. And I'm curious what their big thing is going to be to try to draw people over there, because like when Mixer came in trying to get the Twitch market, they came in with FTL. That was their big thing, faster than light video protocol, basically ultra low latency. So when a gamer sends something out, boom, it's there with people. That's what FTL is. And that was how they drew eyes.
And also better community control and things like that. It was supposed to be a less toxic. When Mixer became a thing, after it was like, what was it, Beam beforehand or something like that? When they started to catch on, it was when a lot of the toxicity was coming up in Twitch, which arguably still ebbs and flows as to how problematic it is. But that was one of the things that Mixer was built upon, was less toxicity and better controls over your community to ensure that you didn't have crappy things happening in your chat or things like that.
So I'm really curious what they're going to do here, because obviously they have the Facebook poll. We can't ignore the fact that they have the Facebook poll, but we also have a lot of people who have specifically chosen the communities that they've chosen. Like when we look, a lot of people who would have traditionally been YouTube streamers, they went and they stuck with Twitch or they went to Mixer, and the YouTube gaming thing kind of faded away. And I'm curious why Facebook. What is the thing about streaming gaming on Facebook that they think is going to land? Is it just the fact that they are Facebook?
They just want to keep everyone in Facebook land as their play there, because they know everyone comes to Facebook to do community-based things, see what their family's doing, yada, yada, yada. And the thought is, if we can put gaming there, that keeps people in the Facebook environment more, which means we can target more ads at them, put ads in the sidebar, send them things. But here's the thing to consider, guys. Facebook gaming. Okay, who else has gotten into gaming and failed and pretty much shut that down? Oh, you guys remember a little product called YouTube gaming? You know how many eyes are on YouTube in a site that is predominantly geared towards video?
I don't remember that when I mentioned it 60 to 90 seconds ago. I don't remember that.
Yeah, Right. I was bringing it up as a reference, but you're correct. I mean, that's the thing is there's a lot of other big players that have tried to do this and it didn't work. And just because you're Facebook.
For the audio listener, Chris has stopped because of the fact that he had text appear over his face that said ads, because he was talking about how Facebook wants to put ads into things. So I thought
it was all just messed up.
I thought we would try that here. If we were just to put ads suddenly over Chris's face, maybe we'd make money.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Twitch puts ads in. I'm pretty sure Mixer does to some way, shape, or form. Ads is how these guys make money. But Facebook gaming, there's no draw there that makes me go, oh my God, I need to be there. Maybe there'll be a bit of a land rush as everyone goes. Maybe I can establish myself and become the big name in Facebook gaming and get all sorts of advertising dollars. But it doesn't really work that way. A lot of people tried that with Beam/Mixer. You guys have seen what Microsoft is doing to draw more eyes there. They're signing people to exclusive streaming contracts.
Yeah.
Like the Fortnite streamer Ninja, I believe it was, who was predominantly on Twitch. They signed him to a multi-million-dollar deal. He streams exclusively to Mixer, gets front page placement on Mixer, gets it on their app for the Xbox, things like that. That's the world we live in. You've got to put something out there that brings eyes into your product. And yeah, it's great. They put a gaming service out there that's one more place I can stream to. So yeah, I could multi-stream to it, but it's not going to be my go-to, I don't figure, at this point in time. And unless they pay a professional gamer or some big name to make that be their home, I don't see how they draw more eyes there other than just idle curiosity of going, Facebook gaming, what the hell is this?
That's the challenge that I'm having with thinking about all of this, because the Facebook Live streaming model revolves around Facebook in general. Just, trying to pull the general Facebook community to be able to see live streams. And I don't know that we've continued to see it go the upward trend that originally was predicted, because there are a lot of people that now just ignore Facebook Lives. Like, it just seems to be the case. Mm-hmm. And even on the weekend, there was that, multi-hour music streaming thing that went, and it was on a whole bunch of places all afternoon, at least afternoon my time. And I was doing some work in the den and I had that streaming, and I originally came across it on Facebook. But it bugged me because it wasn't really the video format that I usually like. So I went and I found it on YouTube. And I'm just an example on how, like, I'm a creature of habit. So I went to what I knew and what I liked, which was YouTube. And so I don't know, with Facebook making this a dedicated section as well, I don't get it. The only thing we didn't touch on here is that the app does apparently have built in a way that you can start streaming from it. I don't know if you just take your phone and you just point it at your TV or what, but apparently within the app there is a way to start streaming. I'm not following how that works.
Mixer did something like that at one point in time where you could stream some iPad or like iPhone or Android games via the Mixer app on your phone. I never really tried it. I think I turned it on once to see what it would do and couldn't get it to work, because let's be honest, I don't know how many of you guys want to watch me play Hearthstone. You might want to, because that one's fun, but some of the stupid games I play on my iPhone, iPad, like the animation domination game, I'm not sure anyone really cares to watch me play that on Mixer or Twitch or YouTube gaming or Facebook gaming, any of that stuff. It's great. Facebook's trying to get into an already crowded marketplace. They've got a crap load of money they can throw at it, and maybe they'll get a little bit of traction. But I don't know. I don't watch a lot of live streams of video games. I can't imagine that people that do are going to be like, oh my God, Facebook gaming, I got to make sure I check that out to watch people play Fortnite.
SP, what's your thoughts here? You've been kind of silent.
I've just wanted to know one thing, and it was what we were talking about before we went live tonight, and unfortunately I didn't get the answer from you. What are all the ways that Stadia is better than this Facebook gaming?
Well, you can play it for free right now for 2 months.
Okay, so it's free, but isn't the Facebook stuff free?
Probably, but you have to sell your soul because it's Facebook.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's not better than Facebook gaming. That Stadia is worse.
That's not what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that Stadia is better, and I just need to know why.
Why is it better? They're two different things. Stadia is a gaming platform. Facebook gaming is watching people game.
Oh, so you can stream your Stadia games through Facebook?
Yes.
Arguably, you probably could.
You could, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'd be a lot easier to stream it to YouTube because it's baked into Stadia, but I'm sure you could use OBS or something like that to capture your Stadia stream and put it out to whatever your preferred streaming service is.
Okay, so Animal Farm is available.
Well, now I want to buy a Stadia.
I don't know that there's. Are you talking about Animal Crossing?
Yes,
or-
Animal Crossing.
That's only available on the Nintendo Switch currently, but you can stream that if you dock and connect to a capture card or something like that.
Okay.
Animal Crossing is crack. Don't play it, guys. If you start, you'll never stop. I'm almost 60 hours in, and I'm jonesing for my fix right now. Oh my God, I need my Animal Crossing.
Why didn't you bring your Switch with you?
Because I'm not supposed to split my focus like that. I have a segment tonight. I could play it if Steven was doing a segment tonight. I'd just play video games.
So all these questions really develop into I don't give a crap about this Facebook gaming stuff.
That's because they banned SP. That's why he doesn't care.
I don't care. I want to play my Xbox One on the 1 hour a month on average that I actually get to play it. And that's about it. I don't have time to do anything else. I'm missing out on life, guys. And Facebook, it'll be a cold day in hell when I am on Facebook gaming.
Facebook gaming, to be clear, is a Twitch supplement. It's not a way that you game. It's a streaming service. So,
Yeah, it's not
didn't
a
they
Stadia,
have some sort of farm thing on Facebook a long time ago?
yeah, but that's
Back
different.
years ago, yeah.
That's
Different
different.
thing,
Facebook gaming is Twitch or Mixer. That's what it is. But on Facebook.
I'm not on Facebook anyway, so who cares?
It's off Facebook, though, because there's an app. So it's on Facebook, but it's off Facebook.
All right. I don't care. I think a lot of people don't care. I think the serious gamers are going to go to YouTube and Twitch and Mixer. They're not going to go to Facebook. Facebook is for our generation. It's not for the young kids. Kids, they are on TikTok. They're on Instagram. They're on other things. They're not on Facebook.
Yeah.
Now,
Let's be clear here.
If you put the Facebook gaming thing, streaming thing on Instagram, I think it'll be a lot more popular.
But we've already got IGTV there that people supposedly use. I don't know. I don't understand Instagram. I just post pictures of food and animals. But neither here nor there. We got to remember, though, based off what this product is, SPU kind of touched on it. We are not the target demographic of Facebook gaming. It is not us three on this show. We are not the ones who are like, oh my God, I can't wait to log in and watch people play Fortnite online. I go, Fortnite? Why the hell are people still playing that as I bring out Animal Crossing or some other random game and feel obscenely old for my age and go,
Or that one that you made us do a while back live on this show that was like a text game that we randomly were throwing grenades. Yeah.
That
The
was
AI
so fun.
dungeon's
Let's do that
awesome.
again.
Oh boy. So we're going to keep talking about gaming because we know that's what our audience loves here. Pokemon Go. We all know that's a game I've been a fairly regular player of. Suncast, who's frequently guest hosted, also a fairly regular player of. Niantic is the company that runs it right now. We know they've been trying to make tweaks to make it so people can still play this social game while safely socially distancing outside. Now, I will fully admit that pretty much since the COVID-19 thing started, I've logged in maybe once a week just to do a few things, but I have not been privy to a lot of the changes they've done to make this game that encourages you to walk around and spin Pokestops in crowded areas work as you are stuck at home. My wife, however, has been playing it, had minimal problem with things like that going forward. But they have been making changes to allow people to play while they're adequately socially distancing. And it has kind of led to some interesting stories. And Suncast shared this story with us this morning. I'd seen it on Reddit, and I was kind of thinking about making it my news. And when Suncast shared it, I decided, I've got to make this news happen. So just this past week in Minnesota, a mother and daughter were playing the Pokemon Go game, and their session was interrupted because a neighbor was suspicious of their activities and actually called the police on them. To give you the details, let's just pull up the post that the woman shared on her Facebook by the name of Amy Kellums. She said, I wasn't going to post this because it's slightly embarrassing, but this was not the first time this has happened to me. But the story got even better. Kylie and I were pulled over in the driveway the other day for multiple calls about a suspicious car pulling over a lot in the neighborhood. With this social distancing thing, we decided to start playing Pokemon Go again, and it's not nice enough to take a bike, so we take the car. After explaining to the officer that I do in fact live here and was just doing some social distancing with my 12-year-old to get out of the house, he let me go. Flash forward to today, the doorbell rings. The neighbor who called came by to apologize and dropped this off. And what they dropped off was a big cake with Pokemon on it that says, sorry, we called the cops on you. And it just made me laugh. And like Suncast mentioned in our group chat, these are the perfect neighbors because They thought there was a problem and called the police so the police could take care of it. When they realized it wasn't a problem, it was actually the people that lived there, they felt bad and they brought baked goods to apologize. That's awesome.
Yeah, this was an incredible story to read. I had not seen it until Suncast sent it my way, but I think that it's just a feel-good story that we need right now. And the effort that went into this, for the audio listener, you can go ahead and head to gonnageek.com/show and they'll have a link in there. But it's incredible the effort they went to put this in, or to put this together. I can't believe the effort that they put into the cake, as far as finding things to put on it and decorating it the right colors. And I don't know, it was just a really, really, really good, really well done.
Are we sure that they made the cake themselves? Because a lot of grocery stores have these for like birthdays.
Yeah, it looked like a store-bought kind of thing like you get from the bakery, and they might have then just put an extra Pokemon on it or something like that.
Well, then they've lost all my respect and they're terrible neighbors. There you go.
I mean, it's still cool. Let's be honest here.
No, you just poo-pooed on my effort comment. You just said that it was the dumbest thing ever. Those were the words that you just said.
For an older couple not understanding what Pokemon Go was, in order to go through this, I think that was pretty cool, actually.
Do you want to know, actually, honest to God truth, I think the reason why I didn't even consider that it was store-bought is because, like, in my mind, I'm like, people don't go to the store right now. Like, it's just in my mind.
Only like twice a month.
Yeah, the amount of people at Lowe's today without proper PPE was just astounding. I hate the fact that I have to go to Lowe's, but I had to go to Lowe's for something.
The show just got 1,000 times better right now.
Yeah,
I'm going to say that they made it themselves. They did it themselves, and they managed to find the pieces, and that they had the plastic tray that it's sitting on, and the box that's clearly behind it. And I stand corrected.
It's still cool. It's still a funny moment, which is, oh man, something weird happened. My neighbors called the cops because they thought there was a problem because it looked like there was a car casing the joint. And then my neighbors realized, oh no, it's actually them, felt a little bad about it, and sent a cake with Pokemon on it. It's just, it's a feel-good thing. It makes you smile, and you go, man, I wish I had neighbors like that, because they're looking out for each other, and then once they realize there wasn't a problem, they give you cake. If someone gave me free cake, I'd be pretty happy.
I agree. Like the last time that my neighbor saw me, they told me some very choice words. Now, might have been the fact that I was peering in their window, but they still weren't very kind.
What's really cool is on here, instead of happy birthday, Steven, on it, it says, sorry, we called the cops on you. That was written there either by them or by the store owners. But guys, I think the most important thing here, we have to ask the question, and I don't think it's in the story. Is this chocolate or is it white?
Why isn't it marble? Because that's superior.
See, we don't know.
It's true. We don't know. These are the hard-hitting facts that we look for on the Gonna Geek Show.
Yeah, I'm glad we're here to keep these facts in mind.
Well,
this is more relevant than Facebook gaming, just saying.
You know, he's not wrong.
He's not wrong at all.
He's not
wrong. And interestingly, also more relevant than Rise of Skywalker.
Which I still haven't bought. I've seen it once in the theater, and that's it.
We're never going to get anyone from Disney to come on this show ever, are we?
That's fine, because they all should be fired.
All right. So you're telling me, SP, the other day, you said to me the other day, Suncast has a problem. He is stuck on Mars, unable to work from home because he's only got one place to be, and it's at his home on Mars. He's the only home there. You're telling me the reverse is happening right now, that there are people that are controlling things on Mars trying to work from home. Is that right?
Yes. I got this from an article on space.com written by Chelsea Gold, and I was just enthralled by it because I was thinking, yeah, this is me. This is what I'm doing right now. So for everybody that doesn't know what I'm talking about because they're not looking at the show notes.
He's hating on Rise of Skywalker. That's what he's doing right now.
No, that's what I did before, and I will
enough.
do it again, but that's not what I'm doing right now.
Okay.
Right now, I'm talking about how NASA is controlling the Curiosity rover from home. So as you guys know, people all over the world, including us three, are working from home. Now I have to go into work once or twice a week at least, but for the most part, I'm working from home and you guys are working from home. So is most of NASA. And we talked about this before, right when the orders hit, with NASA's chief Jim Bridenstine ordering everybody to work from home on March 20th. It's been a month since then. And this did include the scientists and engineers that are controlling the Curiosity rover. 2 days after the order came for NASA employees to work from home, if they could, they did some tests in the Curiosity rover team, and they did a practice run, and then they actually did it. They sent commands to Curiosity from home and had it drill a rock sample at Edinburgh, which is a location on Mars that Curiosity rover currently is. So just in case, so this was before March 20th, so just in case they needed to go remote, the team started to consider what equipment they might need to work from home and how they might communicate best from one another. I don't know about you guys, but I actually did this, and that's what set me ramping up on my computer refurbishing at home so that everybody in my family could work from home. That actually has worked out. The people that have to work from home have been able to use computers, including myself. Still, the NASA team that is running Curiosity cannot access all of their equipment that they usually use at JPL. That is where Curiosity is actually controlled from. For example, team members usually use special goggles that shift quickly between the left and right camera views from Curiosity's massed cam vision to help study 3D images of the Martian terrain. The goggles do help planners identify details of the terrain in order to figure out the best area to send Curiosity and what it could do with its robotic arm. While those detailed images through the 3D goggles can help ensure that Curiosity will collect and study the most scientifically interesting targets while also avoiding damage or getting stuck, they do require specialized equipment at JPL. Namely, the goggles require the use of immense graphics cards on really powerful computers, all of which are located at JPL, not at the scientists and engineers' home. And since the mission planners can't use these goggles, they've turned to something a bit more low-tech, red-blue 3D glasses. So they are working from home using the red-blue 3D glasses to get the 3D images out from Curiosity and sending commands to operate it safely from Mars. Guys, we can do this. We can hack into NASA. We could actually control Curiosity rover and then go save Suncast. What do you guys think?
Why do we need to hack it if you work for NASA?
I don't work for NASA.
Yeah, but NASA should be able to hook into all of NASA's network, I would assume. You're the secret NASA.
Steven, don't get it stuck. Steven is wearing his virtual reality goggles and he is commanding Curiosity right now. Don't get it stuck, because if you get it stuck, you got to pay for it. You break it, you buy it.
Actually, you've misunderstood, or did I misunderstand? Because this isn't the Curiosity rover that I'm controlling. It's Curiosity Daily that I'm controlling right now.
That wouldn't be difficult because the producer is quite a hack.
I'm just glad Steven can't see the hand gestures I'm making right now.
Oh, I see them, Chris. It's what I'm looking at right now.
What am I doing?
Oh, you don't want to know.
I do want to know. What am I doing, Steve? Oh.
Okay, so for the audio listener, I dug out my RIP Google Daydream. That's what I was wearing. But
isn't it more of an evening dream right now?
I do have a question though. What you are telling us is that somebody somehow found a way to convince the higher ups at NASA that they should wear 3D goggles all day. Clearly they're just gaming and getting paid for it.
Can you blame them? I mean, if you are forced to work at home, wouldn't you try to get away with some stuff now?
So the real question is then, Steven, the gaming they're doing right now, when do I see that at facebook.com/gaming?
Well played. Maybe it'll be tomorrow.
And will I have to wear 3D goggles so that I can see it properly?
Yes.
That's
Excellent.
Actually a great question. I don't know if they live stream the movements. I don't think they
That
do
would
in
be
case
cool.
something happens. Yeah,
That
I
would
don't.
be super
It's not
cool
like
if
the
they did.
ISS. I think they don't live stream it, but I could be mistaken.
Well, anyways, I'm surprised that they don't have a way to make the 3D happen at home, but is what it is, I guess.
I just think it's pretty cool that they're actually driving a rover from home, and the hacking thing does concern me.
But if it gets hacked, at least we know Suncast is not too far off. He'll just make a hop over.
Let's be honest. I doubt they're going across commercial open internet connections. I'm sure they're probably VPNing in, which helps mitigate a lot of that risk.
I don't disagree, but it just means that it's not a hard terminal thing within JPL itself. It means that anybody could actually remote in and do it. So
Chris has way more faith in people than I do, because ultimately the endpoint is a personal computer, and I don't trust people.
Your security is only as good as the user you have doing it. If user X is at home and goes, man, I need another cup of coffee, and doesn't lock their computer that's connected via VPN and virtual machines to the JPL network, and then their kid comes and goes, oh, this is a cool video game, I'm going to go drive and do stunts, and wrecks the rover. Yes, that's a problem. I
actually wasn't talking about that. I was talking about getting malware or something on there that is compromised, so they get it on their computer.
There are things you can do that mitigate that, but I can't talk about it on this show.
Fair enough. All right. Well, let's go ahead and quickly move on to the extra. And we're not going to touch on this too long because Chris has a really good segment that we want to make sure we have lots of time for. But
no pressure there.
The thing is, I was thinking about making this my news point, but I knew Facebook gaming would be way more conversation and way more fun to ridicule.
It's so interesting.
So I want to quickly touch on the iPhone SE, and you're going to be like,
consider I might have something to say about it as well.
I was pretty sure that you were going to be just like a poo-poo Facebook, and Chris was going to be like, I hate Facebook for gaming for these reasons. So
I meant the iPhone SE.
Oh, the iPhone SE. Yeah. No, we're going to talk about it. We're moving on to the extra where we're going to talk about the iPhone SE. Does that work for you?
Well, you just wanted to shove it under a rug and then get to his segment, which is awesome.
We're getting there. Eventually, we'll get to Chris's segment.
Remember, he hates Apple. Steven hates Apple.
Can we just get to the part where I say that iPhone SE is a good thing? Can I just get there?
Yeah, it's a good idea when Google did it first.
If that's, I don't care who did it first. I honestly don't care who did it first.
SP, you and I are going to have a thing here about iPhone SE, okay? And we're going to have a thing about the iPhone SE, because here's the thing about the iPhone SE. I agree with Chris Farrell. I believe that Google did this first, because while Apple released iPhone SE version 2, here's the thing. The original SE,
Apple did it first.
The original SE is not what the current SE was. The original SE was really out of date hardware functionality. It was stripped down. People were concerned about the specs at the time, and there was a whole bunch of things that made it not a flagship competitor. The iPhone SE that they've just announced is basically what Google did last year with the 3A, where they stripped down a couple random features. They went back to the old physical style, and they have put modern technology in there. And I think that this is fantastic because the price point is right there in a sweet spot where if you don't need the newer OLED screen, you don't need the end-to-end screen, you like a fingerprint reader, there is no headphone jack. If you like this sort of thing, but you want modern technology, like the 3A did for Google, the iPhone SE is really, really a good option. It's one that my wife needs a new iPhone, and I think she's looking at this right now. And it's affordable. That's the thing, is it's affordable. It's in a good price point for this sort of thing. And it's not years old or slowed down technology like the original iPhone SE was. So while it shares the same name as the SE, I disagree with it being a continuation of that concept. I believe that it is, the only similarity is that it is being offered as a cheaper option. Now, what I want to say, though, that I think that they've actually done better than Google is they've put the current generation processor in there. Google did a current generation of a slower line. So like, let's say you had the top line and then you had a line down of processor. Google did the current generation of the line down, which basically more or less equates to a year old of the current generation. Apple didn't. Apple did the current processor in it. So I think that they have done better in that regard to the processor. We don't know what the 4A is going to be, though. The 4A could be a surprise.
So, point to make right now, who cares about processors? 99% of the general public.
You do?
Yes, it's great to people that are talking about the spec sheet. Oh my God, this is great. There's plenty of people who are using the Pixel 3a right now, which uses the Snapdragon 755, I think it is, that don't care because it just does what they want it to. Yeah, it's great that there's a great processor in the new iPhone SE, the current line one, things like that. It's not really negative that the Pixel used a slightly cheaper one for battery efficiency.
I think we'll see, because if you get less life out of it, if it doesn't last as long, you're saving.
You're still going to get 3 years out of a Pixel 3a and 4a because that's the guaranteed software support.
Okay, guaranteed. Oh God, I'm going to say this. You're being a Google lover right now. No, I think though that the thing is though,
Apple's is better. You get longer term support. I fully acknowledge that. An Apple device can last for years longer than a Pixel device. I have never disputed that fact.
The thing though is there's a difference between on paper support and practical support. And that's the concern that I have with the slower processor, is because you get to the point where you're hitting your head against a wall because it's so slow. Like that's what we saw with iPhones for a while there when they were reducing the battery. You saw people, they were still supporting them, but they were hating it because it was so damn slow. And that's the concern that I've got. And if you end up with a longer or a shorter practical lifespan, the savings aren't worth it. And that's the thing that I think we have to wait and see what happens with that Pixel 3a line. Because if you get 1 or 2 less years out of it than you would a regular Pixel phone, the savings is arguably not worth it.
All right, so hold on a second. The iPhone processor issue was not a processor problem. It was they throttled the processor to make the battery last longer. So in effect, they took their processor and crippled it to basically make the battery work longer. It wasn't a matter of the processor stopped working as efficiently years later. So let's clarify that. And it wasn't that being the problem.
Okay, but it still stands as an example on Apple officially supporting a product. On paper, they officially supported that product. They continued to give it updates, but it was slower functionally. And that's my point right there. That's because
how software updates work everywhere, though.
But again, you're talking function versus you're talking on paper support versus functional practicality. And it doesn't matter if a company is supporting a product if day to day you can't reasonably use it. It doesn't matter how long they support it if you are still hitting your head against the wall. And that's what I want to see with the 3A. I've made it very clear. I will likely get a 4A, whether it is the current processor or the slower processor, but I cannot accept that a slower processor is as likely to give you more years than a current generation processor.
All this is not buying a flagship phone. That's really the major difference here. You're not buying a flagship phone. You're not buying the Pixel 5, the Pixel 4, the Galaxy V20, any of those, not V20, but S20, things like that. There is a lot of overimportance by spec heads put on, oh my God, this is the Snapdragon 785 XYZ Beta 1.2 or some nonsense like that, where 90% of people are never going to see anything that causes that processor to have to ramp up all the way to support their things. Yes, things might be slightly snappier, but here's the thing with a Pixel phone, why people buy them. And maybe I'm being a Google head here. It's because of the software. And Google engineers the software to work best on their products, which is why to this day, there are still people rocking Pixel 1s out there that have done their own forked version of Android to bring it up to Android 10. Pixel 2s and 2XLs like you and I both have, that, I would argue my Pixel 2 XL runs just about as fast as it did the day I got it. So the processor argument, yes, on paper, it makes a huge difference. Practically, especially in the Android world, it doesn't really matter because there's so many different processors out there being used on most of the midline and feature phones. You can make arguments for things like this has wireless charging, this doesn't, this has a better screen. Those are all pretty valid because you're going to notice it in day to day. But as a user of the phone,
Well,
That's my well thought out argument.
We will have to disagree here because I just think that they did a great job of giving a budget price with the current processor. I think that's they deserve kudos for that.
They also used a crappy display.
But some people, that might be all that they want, right?
What are you looking at more every day? Are you looking at the processor on your phone, or are you looking at the screen on your phone?
I think
it's a 4.7-inch LCD display.
It depends
Whereas
on the
you're getting
person,
OLED
though.
screens on the Pixel phones.
But it depends on what you're looking for, right?
Isn't that what I just said about the processor?
I think, again, I think that when you're looking at what you can actually do with software, I think that your processor is slightly more important, as if it functions properly than your display. Because if your display looks fantastic, but your phone is crashing or being slow or not playing things back functionally, then what's the good of a display?
I think you're overweighing what the difference is between a Snapdragon 765 and 865 or whatever right now.
Again, I've said I'm probably getting the 4A. I'm just saying that they deserve the kudos, I think, for the current gen CPU. But I'm not saying the 3A or the 4A is bad either, because I'm going to be right there with the 4A, assuming it actually comes this year, which is a big if.
It's already been boxed, and there's leaked ones out there.
I mean, of actually fit availability to countries.
But let's be honest here. Neither you nor I are probably buying an SE. SP is probably someone who'd be looking at picking one up.
Let's ask him.
So
now
he's the one that it really matters to.
Now that the
probably.
Google lovers have had an argument, let's talk to the Apple user.
This is currently a game changer in the iPhone market for a lot of families. So not high-end users. If you're a high-end user, you're going to go for the $2,000 phone. This is a game changer. Why is this a game changer? Because I've got a family of 5. And you throw my mother-in-law in there. We have a total phone package of 6. My mother-in-law uses a flip phone, a lot like Albert, one of our listeners.
Mm-hmm.
So we only have 5 smartphones, and they're all iPhones because of the interconnectivity issues that I have with my family. So we're all on iPhones. My wife, my older daughter, and my younger daughter are all on current generation phones. My son and I, however, are still rocking an iPhone 8. My younger daughter would be on an iPhone 8 had it not failed. And that's why we had to go to the 11 Pro. We got her an 11 Pro, not the Max. She didn't want the bigger screen, but an 11 Pro. So she needed to change. If this would have been available when her phone went down, she would have gotten one of these, whether she wanted to or not. It's just $1,000 cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is a great phone. So this is an iPhone 6. It's not an iPhone 8, but it's the same form factor, right? So iPhone 6S, actually. And my son is rocking one of these, not a pink one or gold one or whatever this is. He's rocking a space gray version. He's going to graduate, hopefully, from college in the next year. And then he's on his own for a phone. He's had that iPhone 8 for 2.5 years. It's time for him to give an upgrade. I don't want to spend $1,500 for a phone on him. If it was going to be a graduation present, that would be one thing. But if he needs a new phone, I'm going to get one of these. It's the exact same phone. It is... The specs are all the same except for the processor. I love the fact that the processor is updated because it means that the apps work a little bit more like the 11 Pro. And I've seen that, the XS and the 11 Pro. My iPhone 8 Plus is similarly bogged down. I have resigned myself to wait for the 12 or whatever they're going to call it. And I'm going to get a flagship phone because I enjoy having a flagship phone. I'm old and I can go out and buy whatever I want to, that sort of thing. So I'm not going to get this. However, for my son, I might get him. Now, with all that said, I will say that the one thing that I'm hesitant about recommending this phone in general is the fact that the RAM is only 2 gigabytes. It's the same specs as the iPhone 8. Everything else is 3 or 4 now. And the RAM on the iPhone 8 and SE is only 2. That's going to be a limiting factor of keeping this phone around for years and years and years and years, like you guys were saying, because processor is going to be there. The battery is going to last 2 or 3 years. I don't know if the RAM is going to keep up with the apps in future generations of iOS.
One other thing that I think is worth thinking about as well, because Chris touched on the display thing, which is a consideration for some, but I think when we look at the specs of this phone versus the iPhone 11, the iPhone 11 is selling. The iPhone, no, I'm not talking the 11 Pro or the 11 Pro Max or whatever it is, right? The iPhone 11 Basic is selling. And there is very, very similar features on the two of these here. And there's a significant price difference. You're looking at the RAM specifically, yes, there's only, the article I'm looking at says 3 gigs on the SE. The 11 regular says 4. But you've got 2 cameras on the 11, but you've only got 1 on the SE. A lot of people don't probably need the 2. They're both 12 megapixels. They both have the same pixels per inch for the display. So basically you're with the same quality, a little smaller, but the same quality of display with the SE. So when you're looking at like a $300 price difference, or is it I think it's about $300 difference. I think it's at least Canadian. You're about $300.
It depends on what the memory is.
Yeah, but when you're looking at about $300 difference between the iPhone 11 and the iPhone SE, kind of makes me wonder, like, is it going to take that 11 market?
Probably.
They're very similar.
I mean, what they've found, I'm guessing, you just listening to the news and other tech blogs and stuff like that, is Apple has run into an issue where these high-priced phones aren't selling as well as they thought they were going to sell, and that they had started to transition into more software stuff. So they're like, ooh, we have to provide something to the consumer that is still appealing to them, but is not going to cost a lot of money. And this is it. And guys, I don't remember when it was, a year ago or so, we had a show where we talked about what we would want in a phone. And personally, I said, I want the new camera and I want the battery life, but that was just me personally. Most of the again, I will go to family. So you're talking people with 2 or 3 kids, they might not be able to spend $2,000 on a phone for everybody. I mean, I didn't when my kids were younger. This could be a game changer for them where they could actually give their phones to their kids and be able to stay in communication with them and ultimately track them. Yes, that's part of it. And yeah, I think it's going to be like I said, I think it's going to be a game changer to have this basically an iPhone 8. I'm using it. The 8 Plus, it's still viable. It's just that the battery has, as Chris was mentioning, the battery is a little, so you get a refreshed battery and a new processor in the 8 for half the price. Yeah, I'm all for it for those things. And again, I'm going to go for the flagship phone because I like a flagship phone.
Like Suncast said in the chat room, it's a matter of people don't want to spend $1,000+ for a phone. And in today's world, let's be honest, most of these changes we're seeing between each flagship generation, you look at and go, what does it really do for me that the processor is 7% faster and you gave me a camera that processes 6% faster? What I have now works fine. And what is really great to see here, and it was one of the big differentiating factors between Android and Apple for a long time, was you could get a mid-range Android phone and it was pretty solid. And Apple didn't really have that mid-range level phone. We can go back to the original iPhone SE, but it's been many years since it was a viable product. Now they do. And this is great for consumers because honestly, Steve and I've been looking at a Pixel 4a, SP's been mentioned the SE. We're all techie guys. We love this stuff. And we kind of look at it and go, the trade-offs to save $600+,
yeah,
really not that terrible. And here's the thing. If I drop my $400 phone and it breaks, I go, oh crap. Well, at least I'm not out $1,000.
Yes.
And it's less of a pain point to be like, oh my God, I have to buy a new phone.
Another difference with this, you mentioned dropping. Another difference with this is it's waterproof. You know, the past SC wasn't. So you can drop it in a puddle and it's still going to be functional unless the screen breaks.
I'm glad you mentioned it because credit where credit's due. That was the other thing I was going to mention that I thought Apple deserved kudos, but I got so distracted that they did waterproof this. Google did not waterproof the 3A. So I think that is a good thing. But I think Suncast, absolutely. I think you're right that he nailed it with the price tag. And because of that, you know, there are people who they want a good camera and they see what a good camera is. And I think both features you and I were bickering over, the display and the battery. For some people, they're just going to go, okay, it takes good photos. with the Google, they're going to go, it takes good photos. I have to wait for them to process a little bit compared to the flagship. With here, they'll go, it takes good photos, but it doesn't look as good on my display, but I know on the internet it looks good, or on my computer it looks good. They're still willing to trade off for people who don't want to spend that $1,000 in both situations, right? They're absolutely going to take whatever trade-off it is, because at the end of it, it's serving the purpose. With the 3A, it's doing its magic voodoo with processing a little bit slower than it would on the flagship. With here, they're taking the picture and it's not on a good display, but at least the picture is good. And it's got because it's, again, the 12 megapixel camera. So it's crazy to think that just a couple of years ago, there was no sight at all to these decent step down phones. We were complaining about that on this show. And now look what we've got here with the Google line and the iPhone line. We have two real feasible, cheaper options, which unfortunately are cheaper options right now. But if you go back and compare them to a few years ago, they were kind of that price line for the flagship. So that's a little bit sad.
And I will admit that some of my comments come from the standpoint of I'm currently using an iPhone 8 Plus, and I am seeing no degradation in it. I'm not seeing software issues. I'm not seeing app performance issues. I'm using it just fine. And based on that, I think the SE will be just fine. But if I was using a 11 Pro Max, like I wanted to, go ahead and I might take a look at that and scoff. So it's just relative to where I'm sitting, and I will admit that bias.
Similarly, I'm in the same position because I have a Pixel 2 XL, which is almost 3 years old, I want to say, at this point in time. So I will say this, from everything I wanted to do, I have occasional random slowdowns, but it's not terrible. I can live with anything that goes on with it. So anything, even these mid-range phones, is an upgrade from what I have now. So I'm looking at that and going, oh, okay, I can see where this would be good. If I owned like a Pixel 4 or something like that, I wouldn't be going, oh man, these mid-range phones look great, because I would have a flagship phone or a Galaxy S20, things like that. We're looking at things from a standpoint of our technology is a few years old, and now these mid-range, phones are coming out, which have specs that are still better than our 2-year-old phones, and arguably are probably about a year and a half better, you could say. And the price difference makes it worthwhile, and you go, oh, this hurts less, especially now when the market kind of sucks.
Yeah. Well, that was a good discussion, and obviously I should have done that instead of my Facebook gaming post. But thanks for the discussion, and if you have thoughts about this, we would love to know. Again, I personally am looking forward to the 4A, but if I was in the current situation but with iPhone, I think this would definitely be appealing to me. Let's go ahead, though, and move on to more tech talk as Chris tells us about the thing that keeps him warm. All right, Chris, I know that usually when there's no social distancing, the way that you like to keep warm is having somebody come over and give you a big hug, right? This is how you keep yourself warm. But right now you've replaced that warmth with coffee. That's my understanding. Is that correct?
Yes, because I love being touched by people. It's my favorite thing.
Okay, let's write down that time code.
So you're saying the honeymoon is over?
Sure.
Okay.
It's been over for almost a year. I mean, I was only gone for a week.
You normally newlyweds for a year. So by your comments,
you meant that. I thought you meant the literal honeymoon.
Yeah.
Obviously,
it's over. So continue.
Ow. That one hurt a little bit. I don't even know how to kick off from there. Yeah, I'll just kick off. So let's step back in time a second. Let's go back to episode 273 of the official GonnaGeek.com show, recorded January 28th, 2019. I brought a tech product onto the show, my Ember mug that I discussed. And for those watching the video, I'm holding it up right now, which was my smart coffee mug that connected via Bluetooth and had a battery in the bottom of it that could be used to keep my coffee cold for about 90 minutes, I think is what it was. When I discussed it back in 2019, I liked it, was the takeaway. I think some of my concerns was the mug wasn't large enough because it's only a 10-ounce mug, and that the battery was so-so. And I liked it effectively because I could slowly drink a cup of coffee over an extended period of time without it just going cold and then having to be reheated, or sticking it into one of my thermal mugs that kept it scalding hot for like an hour and a half before it was then drinkable for the next few hours. So it was a good product. I really liked it. Why did I bring that up? Well, we mentioned in this show that I was getting the opportunity to work from home, much like these other gentlemen I do the show with. And one of the things I wanted when I went down to my cold basement was a warm cup of coffee. And I went, if I'm taking this mug that has no lid down the stairs every day with my dog that has a habit of wanting to stop on the stairs when I'm not paying attention, I'm liable to fall down the stairs, spill coffee all over myself and my white/tan stairs. It's a kind of a mess. Not fun. So what did I do? I knew, and I believe I mentioned in that segment, that Ember made other mugs. I looked and saw what the travel mugs were they had. And they had the Ember Mug Travel Mug version 1.0 and 2.0. And if you're watching the video right now, this is the Ember Travel Mug that I got. It is effectively the same type of battery-powered mug that allows me to keep my coffee warm for an extended period of time, but arguably slightly better than the conventional mug, and kind of has to be because the price is a little bit higher. So let's give you guys the background on this mug. This is a 12-ounce travel mug. It's got a spring-loaded lid so that it doesn't spill. I can twist this upside down right now. Nothing's going to come out of it. Those that are watching the live stream, I have literally turned the mug upside down. There is no coffee coming out of it because it is closed.
His pants are very,
lid.
very hot though right now. And they're very hot.
My pants are always hot, Stephen. I run hot. So I made a point of saying this is the version 1.0 mug. They just came out with 2.0, I want to say mid 2019. I bought the 1.0 because I found it on sale at Best Buy for $90 versus the retail of $150. And the version 2.0 is $180. Those are prices I would not pay for what I deem a luxury office item. This mug is available in both black and white. I obviously bought the black version because it's the only one I could find. Let's be honest. So when it comes to the differences between the version 1.0 and 2.0 mug, I did some research before I made my buying decision, although honestly, it's the price that really pushed me there. The difference is for the 2.0 version, you have a 3-hour battery life if you are undocked or uncharging. And for my version 1, you only get 2 hours of battery life. They also changed the way you interact to change the temperature on your mug. Version 2.0 has like an embedded touchscreen that you swipe your finger up and down to change the temperature on. This one, you twist the bottom of the mug and it adjusts your temperature of your coffee. Pretty simple. Version 2.0 is supposedly 15% lighter. I don't really care if my coffee mug is heavy. It gives a little bit of heft. And the capacity for coffee is exactly the same still. 12 ounces of coffee.
Really?
Yes.
It looked bigger.
Well, that's because you have to realize there's probably about this much that is a battery that powers the thing. And is also the works that regulate the control, the temperature rather.
I will say you might not care how heavy it is, but for people that are on job sites and maybe jobs like their producers or their managers and perhaps their salesmen or whatever that are going around the show floor, they're going to be carrying that all day long. So I think that weight for a general specification is actually important for
Fair
that
point.
specific application.
I will say in comparison to my Contigo mugs, it is slightly heavier, but not overly so, for lack of a better term. So while it is a slightly heavier mug, I don't think it's terrible. But if you were carrying it around for a full day, I could see where that'd be problematic, but also your battery is going to run out after a while. This is really good. Your use case is if you work at your desk a lot and you might want to take it to a meeting with you and then bring it back because you've only got about 3 hours of it keeping your coffee at a steady temperature. And then it's not very well insulated because of how they regulate temperature in there.
I think you'd run out of coffee after an hour anyway.
That is true, but you could keep refilling it. It would keep that refilled coffee at a certain temperature too.
Yeah, okay. Say the meeting that you're at has an actual coffee pot or whatever at. Yeah, okay, I get it.
Or you just break into random workplaces and just use their coffee.
Right.
People do that to us all the time when you're not dealing with the pandemic. They come in and use our coffee.
So when I bought this, some stuff that came in there, it came with the mug, which as I went to go and try and around and see, I couldn't find the mug, a dishwasher safe lid, a charging brick, and this is the charging coaster that I'm holding up right now. It is how it charges. You can see there's 2 little copper pins in it. On the bottom of your mug, there is a copper ring, and you just set them on there. Once the connection's made, it charges your battery. So make sure you don't drip a ton of coffee down the side of your coaster, just in case. Nothing should happen, but you're talking about liquids and electricity and bad things happen. So the coaster, not terribly sized. Supposedly with the version 2.0 mug, they made the coaster even smaller. It does take a pretty decent sized power brick to charge it though. So you need to make sure you have an outlet nearby where you can plug in and charge. Sorry, I was trying to plug that back in because I knew I would forget tomorrow morning when I go back down there to get my coffee. Captivating.
Not like you're driving to work. I mean, you could plug it in and have it charge as you're working tomorrow.
That is true. I'm literally sitting in my office when I go to work tomorrow where I podcast from.
That's a good question. Does it actually work when it's plugged in, or does it need to be charged up first?
It will charge. You can charge it on there while it is filled, and it will work. It will also sit at a charge at 100% sitting on the charger and keep your temperature. It's one of the points I actually wanted to bring up is the original Ember mug that I had, like after 2 hours of inactivity, if it was empty or just sitting on the charger or something, and it would turn off. This, I made a point of when I got done working at 3:30 this afternoon, I had half a cup of coffee in it. I left it sitting on the charger. When I came back down to start my machine up for the show, it was still having my coffee warm and it was at 100% power. So it does not auto turn off, and there is no damage that will be done to it that way. They put overcharge protections in and things like that as well.
That's
so
cool.
This will charge or keep warm indefinitely so long as it has power.
Okay.
Which I kind of like.
Is it just warming, or is there a cool function?
There is no cool function in it. No.
Okay.
It is just a warming mug.
Let me ask you this, Chris Farrell.
Yes, sir.
I think the first one you mentioned that it wasn't dishwasher safe. Is there anything dishwasher safe about this one?
Just the lid is dishwasher safe.
Okay, which is
It
good.
is hand washed for the base station because there's batteries and electronics in here that are protected by a gasket of some kind, which is fine for you to dunk the mug in soapy water and wash out. But arguably high pressure water coming through in your dishwasher would probably ruin things. However, Ember mug, the regular mug, there are many people that have said they dishwasher wash it with no problem. But with the investment I made in it, I said, I don't want to fry this mug. I'm okay with hand washing it. The 30 seconds it's going to take me to wash my coffee mug is fine compared to tossing it in the dishwasher. Let's give you guys a little more background on this before we move on to the next topic. Ember Mug 1 that I had, you had to control the temperature via a Bluetooth app on your cell phone. If you want to change your temperature, just twist your dial on the bottom of the mug.
So if you're in your car and it is in a car holster, would there be a possibility of you inadvertently changing that as you're twisting the mug to grab it?
So in order to do that on this, you actually have to hit the Ember touch button on here and then go and physically twist it. So it'd be difficult to do. It's not going to do it unless you've turned the phone or turned the mug onto a point where you can do that. One thing I did want to mention on this, it is used to keep your coffee warm. It can also bring room temperature coffee up to your drinkable warmth in about 30 minutes. So if it's room temperature, you can fill it up, set it to that, set it on your charger, and supposedly in 30 minutes, it will have heated up to that temperature. I have not tried that myself, but I will try it and report back to you guys at a later date.
Can you cook soup in it?
You could keep soup warm in it, but I don't know that you could cook soup in it. There are other branded products where they have used it to cook soup in. When I was doing research the original time around.
Okay, so it's not like you can make ramen noodle. If you're a college student, you can't make ramen noodles in it?
No, I would not do that. I don't even know that it would necessarily work. It could keep your water at a temperature that would be high enough to theoretically cook the noodles. I mean, I guess you could try. I don't want to try.
I mean, if you can do over 100 degrees, that's boiling water, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's Celsius. Okay.
Yeah, but so let's go back to the mug itself. Setup on this. It's a smart mug like we've mentioned before. When you first get the mug and you power it on, you then hold that Ember logo on the front of the mug for 6 seconds and it enters pairing mode. You pull up the app on your cell phone, you hit the connect button, bada bing, bada boom, they should connect. That sounds great in theory. In practice, I have connectivity issues from time to time getting this to connect. It's not really a huge problem because I can control the temperature on the mug itself, but I have found sometimes they just don't want to connect. So I either have to unpair the mug via the app or reboot my phone and then it works fine. So I don't really know why that reason is. It's annoying, but it's not really a game changer for me because the mug will work fine in a standalone mode. So what does this app allow you to do? When you power up the app, you go through a setup process. It allows you to configure some options. The Ember Mug version 1 I was able to choose what color LED I wanted to be on the front. Why is that important? Say you had 6 Ember mugs in your office that you were all drinking from. You would know, oh, green is Chris's, red is Espys, and blue is Steven's. So when I grab my mug, the light comes on, I go, oh crap, I grabbed Steven's mug. I shouldn't drink this coffee because it's probably terrible or something. I don't know. The app also allows you to set the temperature for what you want to drink, and there are options there. You can hit a black tea button. It moves it to what the recommended temperature is for, say, black tea, for hot chocolate, cappuccinos, coffees, things like that. They built a timer into it. So say you're making hot tea, you can hit a button that's like black tea. It sets a timer for, I think it is a 4-minute brew time it says you're supposed to have. And in 4 minutes notifies you via notification on your phone, hey, take your tea bag out of your cup. You're good to go. Again, that's not a necessary thing. It's nice to have. The app allows you to check your battery, which especially for the regular mug is a big deal because there's no way to tell on the mug itself. You can see that on the travel mug, which I'll get to here in a few. And yes, it does allow you to update the firmware of your coffee cup. I have had to do that and update the firmware of my coffee mugs. I did not imagine that that was something I would have to do one day, but I have done it.
I have to laugh at just saying that.
Isn't it ridiculous, but also kind of funny at the same time?
It is.
A couple other things on the mug itself. I found out on the app just by accident. I was like, what is this squiggly line that's on the temperature screen and why does it keep moving around? On the travel mug, there's a line that when you pull up on the app pretty much shows you how much coffee is left in the mug. Again, you probably don't need to really know that, but if you pull it up, you can be like, oh, this is almost the bottom of the screen. I must be out of coffee, but you could probably tell because you're picking up the mug and drinking from it. I just thought it was kind of neat because I hadn't seen that before on the Ember Mug version 1.0. The app itself by Ember is available on both iOS and Android, so sorry, Windows Phone users, you're not able to use it. And I did also mention that you can adjust the temperature on the fly for the travel mug, which is one of the important things, and why the app is arguably of less use if you're using the travel mug. Who cares? Because you just adjust to what you want it to be.
So you can't use your Windows 10 or Windows Phone to do it.
That is correct.
If you're stuck on Mars at home, can you control the mug on your coworker's desk at JPL?
If you can get into their phone and then use the Bluetooth, and if Bluetooth is turned on to connect to the mug, yes. But that Bluetooth issue is a separate thing. I don't know, are you guys allowed to run Bluetooth at JPL or SNASA?
Well, SNASA is one thing. I'm pretty sure at NASA they're okaying Bluetooth. So
okay.
And
so in theory,
the Ember Mug
yes.
running the current generation of processor or the previous generation of processor? Sorry.
I hate you so much right now.
How much RAM does the Ember Mug 2 have versus the Ember Mug original?
I don't know that there really is much difference in that regard because all they really changed was a bigger battery and some more efficient thermal, whatever the material is they use to regulate temperature. So Let me talk about the mug itself, give some impressions, get into some pros and cons, and we'll wrap this up because I know we're starting to run a little late. So in regards to the mug, I had heard some complaints when I was reading reviews as to how well the lid worked. In travel mugs, you guys know everyone does their lid slightly different. Some have a flip up, some have a button you push to be able to drink from. The way this mug works is you push down the center of the lid, there's a spring in it, and it snaps down to a lower position, and then you can just tilt, and the coffee comes through the opening that's made in the center, and then to close it, just tap it again, the spring holds it in place. The rubber gasket, like I showed on the show, it's pretty solid considering I was able to flip the mug upside down, have no problem, no leaks. One of the things that's really pleasant about this, because it's constantly keeping my coffee warm, is that my mug is warm to the touch every time I pick it up. I'm sure in the winter, this would be a much bigger deal because your hands would be cold. In the summer, maybe not so much, but my mug is nice. It keeps my hands a little warm when I pick it up. I just enjoyed it. How do you interact with the mug? Everything is centered around this touch Ember button on the front. So to see the current temperature, you tap the Ember button once. It shows a temperature, in this case, 134. To see whose mug it is, you tap twice. It shows the username you've given it. In this case, I gave myself the name Spidey, you guys saw. And if you want to see the battery level, you'll tap the mug button 3 times, and it will show you how much battery you have. In this case, I've probably got about 90% battery because there's barely any worked off the top of it. So you can look just by touching this button and see all the details you need to know. Now, some other things that are done with this button. If you have turned the mug off, you hold that Ember button for 3 seconds, it turns on. If the mug is on and you want to turn it off, hold it for 3 seconds, it will say turn off ? And you just tap the button again and it shuts the mug off. If you want to enter pairing mode, hold that button down for 6 seconds. It'll say pairing on the LED display, and then you can pair your mug with your cell phone. They do say you're supposed to get about 120 minutes full battery life out of this thing, keeping your coffee warm. I found it to be about 90 minutes before it runs down to 0%, but that's when I start with the coffee mug being room temperature, then filling it up. My guess is if your mug has been preheated, for lack of a better term, meaning say it's been sitting on the charger and you've had coffee in it, and then you take it off the charger and walk around, you'll probably get closer to that 2-hour mark because it's already reached that temperature it's supposed to be at, versus going from room temperature mug to super hot and then trying to fit that use case. For what I'm doing right now, I pretty much keep it on the charger, except for when I'm going upstairs to do something or when I accidentally set it on the wrong side of the desk, because I'm working against muscle memory here. My home office setup, my coffee mug I've been putting on the left side of the desk, but when I am working in my actual job, normally my coffee mug goes on the right side of my desk. So I found myself putting my mug on the right side of the desk, then reaching over to the left side where the coaster is and going, oh, wait, other side. So that's just a user habituation issue. It's just weird. I'll get adjusted to it at some point in time. But overall, it's been a pretty decent experience. So let's wrap things up with some pros and cons. The pro does exactly what it's supposed to do. Keeps my coffee warm all day long in theory. I've had this on a charging platform since 3:30. Came down to do the show at about 8:45. Coffee was still at the temperature it was set to be. I've drank some of it. Tasted perfectly good still. It is adjustable. You can adjust the temperature on the fly without having to use the app. And it looks pretty smart as far as travel mugs go. And then it was just added to my show notes. Makes Steven extremely jealous in bold, red, all caps letters. That is true. Probably true too.
It's a big pro. It's a very big pro.
Big pro, yeah. Some cons. This is pricey. Even the discounted Gen 1 hardware. It's a $90 luxury product, for lack of a better term. No one has to have this. It's nice to have. It was something I was luckily in a position where I could afford to get, to try it, then talk about it on the show and give some initial impressions on it. But I would not have paid $150 for it. I would not have paid $180 for the Gen 2 one. The fact I was able to get a Gen 1 product for $80, $90, that made it more palatable, but still, it's expensive because my $15 Contigo mug I have upstairs, there's my normal coffee mug at work, does pretty damn good on my coffee as it is. I brew my coffee, leave the lid off for 20 minutes, put the lid on, and then I can slowly drink from that for a few hours with no problem. So it doesn't really have to be had. Continuing the cons, the Bluetooth. I cannot always get it to connect. I don't use it on the app all the time, but it's generally pretty frustrating that about half the time when I first open the app up, it doesn't want to connect. So I either have to force shut down the app and restart it or repair the phone, and then everything goes back and is set up how I configured it. The nice thing when you repair is it keeps all the things you've programmed into it, like usernames and temperatures and stuff like that. So that is all right. Continuing with the cons, the battery life, it doesn't really meet the 2 hours that they say you're going to get. But let's be honest, most things that give a battery life estimate, they never really meet that point. So that's not the end of the world, but it's something you should be aware of. An additional con, the one I bought is Gen 1 hardware. So it is a bit older compared to what is out there now. It is something I was fully aware of when I bought it. Another con that I didn't put on this list, but I should bring up is it is a mug that uses Bluetooth Low Energy to connect to your cell phone. When I get to go back into the office, I cannot take this with me because in my office, we are not allowed to have Wi-Fi or Bluetooth turned on. So this is a mug I will only get to use at home or when I'm working from home or if I'm working off-site for some reason, because there is no way on the mug itself to go and put it on for an airplane mode, for lack of a better term. The Bluetooth is always on. So I have limited myself into where I can use it. Overall, I like the product. It's a nice thing to have. It's not a must-have. I'm going to use it a lot when I'm working from home because it meets the need that I have, which is over the course of a work day, I have 2 or 3 cups of coffee and I tend to spread it out over a couple hours because I'll just sip on it. By no means do I think everyone needs the product, but if you're someone like me who likes to slowly drink and enjoy a cup of coffee, pretty good product for you. You can have fun with it. You get to play with some cool, fun new tech, and everything stays the temperature you want it to be, much like the Gen 1 mug that I reviewed. I think it's a fine product. I just think it's expensive, so it's certainly a luxury item. If you can find a good deal on it, I would recommend it, but I wouldn't pay retail because it's just too expensive. It's too expensive.
I seriously really like that you have talked about this and the previous one because it is something that I absolutely could find myself using. The thing that I question with it all is like, right now, I do find myself having coffee go cold quite a bit, but because I'm at home, I just keep the coffee pot going. I just keep it going all day or whatever, and it is what it is. But I have situations where I could use this in work, and that would be kind of cool. And I have kind of kept my eyes on to see if I saw any deals anywhere. I have not found the type of deals that you have, and I'm not about to pay anywhere near retail for it.
This was just on Best Buy's website. So I would say check Best Buy. And they actually, after I bought it, dropped the price on their $10. So I had to spend 20 minutes on hold doing their price adjustment stuff, which is a nightmare right now because everyone's calling them about stuff. And if you're one of those people that's in a hold of the folks that are working customer support there, you're the worst. The guy that helped me was really helpful. And I said, I just want to apologize for anyone that's being just crappy today. He goes, yeah, it's been a long day already.
But seriously, I think it's cool. I think it's incredibly geeky. And I love the fact that you had to update the firmware on your mug.
I have 2 questions for you, Chris.
Quest away, my friend.
First, for the people that are conscious of their diet, is this mug keto friendly?
It just holds coffee. So as long as the coffee is keto friendly, I guess the mug is keto friendly. I don't know.
Okay. And the second question I have is, because this uses the same battery that was found in the Samsung Note 7, is the mug safe to take on an airplane?
Does it use the same battery as a Note 7? I honestly don't know. It uses lithium ion, so from a general perspective, it is the same in that regard. I would assume it is safe to take on an airplane. I would have to read the disclosures that they give in the box to see what they say there. I do not have that answer for you.
So you're saying there's a chance that it might blow up on an airplane?
Well, it should be fine to take on an airplane, much like your cell phone is, so long as it is not checked through in your bag, because they say they don't want lithium ion batteries checked. Generally, they want you to keep them in your carry-ons, is my assumption. So I assume it would be fine. I did not read the disclosures for air travel on it, though.
To be clear, there is a chance that your battery will catch on fire if it is any lithium ion battery. Let's make that perfectly clear.
Hit the button.
What button? I don't have. Am I supposed to have a jingle for it? Like,
I thought you had the Note 7 watch button.
I thought it was like we were supposed to have like a lithium ion warning battery jingle. You have a lithium ion battery, it might explode on you.
Instead of exploding safely in your luggage below, you're going to be holding it and it's going to explode in your hand.
In the worst possible case scenario that could ever happen, much like the Galaxy Note 7, any lithium ion battery, as Steven mentioned, could theoretically explode.
I was going to say, I can't think of another device that you hold in your hands every day that has a lithium ion battery in it.
Well, or ones you put around your head like your Bluetooth headphones.
I'm actually not going to touch that for the same reason that Chris doesn't want to be touched.
You don't like people?
All right. Well, anyways, thank you very, very much for that, Chris. I look forward to your Gen 2 review in another 6 months.
Well, we should also clarify, just so that there's no confusion here. Ember didn't pay me, nothing like that. This is a product I was interested in. I paid for with my own money. So just clarification. This is Chris bought something that looked interesting to him and wanted to talk about it on the show.
And we're going to make a little GIF out of that where it says, Ember didn't pay me nothing. Ding.
Just like Steven hasn't paid me nothing.
No, seriously, thank you very much.
Where's my money?
And I hope that this is as successful, more successful than your first one. I was saying more because I always strive that the next generation is more, but I know that sounds kind of negative because you had pretty good luck with your first overall.
So let me clarify. I'm not disappointed with my regular mug that I have. I still use it when I'm upstairs. It's my coffee mug for when I'm sitting in the living room drinking coffee in the morning, reading the news and stuff like that. But it just didn't work for my use case of first world problem of bringing it downstairs and not making a mess while I was doing it. So that's why I wasn't bringing that one downstairs.
Sounds good. Well, thank you again for talking about that. Now, before we go, I do want to get to a little somber news. I think it's appropriate that we talk about it here before we go.
It is.
Today, we found out that over this past weekend, we do record this on Monday, that a longtime listener and viewer of the show, he used to be in the chat room quite a bit, Mike Howard, you might know him by JPEG to Raw. He has been battling cancer for quite a while, and unfortunately, he lost that battle this past weekend. So we just wanted to acknowledge him on the show, say that we all had a lot of really good conversations with him. Before the second bout of cancer came, he was in our chat room pretty much every single week. And that was for this and Better Podcasting. And I know I had a lot of good talks with like video conversation and just bouncing ideas and just general other stuff. And it's a sad day to have learned about that. And I just wanted to acknowledge that right now. I'll let you two chime in as well as you would like.
Oh, geez. I mean, I saw the news this morning, share it with you guys, and I was not as close, hadn't chatted as much with Mike as you guys had. I really just knew him from the chat room here on Gonna Geek, but he was always a positive presence in the chat room, brought up some funny or interesting things during the show, and his presence will be missed in that regard. And just F cancer, man.
Yeah.
F cancer.
He's a fellow drone pilot. He was a true friend. He was a true friend. I was talking back and forth with him. I asked him many times if he wanted me to come down and see him. He didn't have the energy for it. And unfortunately, I had always thought that I would be there close to the end. And I just can't with the pandemic here. So it's hitting kind of hard for me right now, honestly, because of it. And he will sorely be missed. He was a truly good guy. I mean, you talk about good guys, nice guys. He was truly the nicest podcaster that I know of. And he was just a great guy. And he's got a great family. And I feel for the family more than I feel for anybody else right now. He did fight. You can go back and see some of his posts on his social media. And he was trying like heck just to enjoy life and to have fun with the time that he had left. He knew he had stage 4 cancer. And holy crap, guys, he battled that for a lot longer than anybody thought he would be able to. So I hope he has found his peace and rest right now. And it was truly a genuine pleasure being able to share some of his time over the past 5 or so years.
So thank you for everything that you did to support the show over the years, Mike. We do all greatly appreciate it. For episode number 328 of Gonna Geek Show, I'm Stephen John Drew saying, Mike, you will be missed.
Mike Howard, thanks for being there for us.
Thanks, Mike, and F cancer.
Bye.